Okay, hi y'all. First of all, I just want to apologize. My voice, for those of you that know me, they know that I don't sound like this. So I'm going to stand over here so y'all can see me. But I get a little bit spirited in events, and so yesterday we had a 5K, and I was handing out water and decided that I wanted to lose my voice yelling at people while they were walking. So I'm really sorry about that. But the title of my speech is the same but different, and I know that that's super confusing, but hopefully by the end of it, it'll kind of clear things up a little. So to start off, I want y'all to just close your eyes and think about the last time you compared yourself to somebody else. Whether that's something superficial, like, oh, I wish I could just pull my face back here and not have the lines on my face, or wow, if I twist my body like this, I could look like XYZ model. Or for the guys, it's maybe I could just flex, and if I twist and turn, you can see my six-pack lines. Or maybe it's something more serious, like, oh, I want to do better than this person on the next exam. Or, oh, I think I'm better than that person, and therefore my actions are justified. So if you can think of something like that that's happened recently, I want you to raise your hand with your eyes still closed. And now I want you to open your eyes with your hand up, and I want you to look around at everybody else. Almost everybody has their hand up, right? Everybody's done it. So yeah, we're all the same, but the comparisons that we've made are all different, yeah? So for me, I've always been a competitive person. In high school, I was the kid, I had to have the best grades. I had to be #1 on the tennis team. I had to do whatever it is, and I had to do it the best way I could do it. And I think that there are a lot of people that would agree that they're similar to that. But for me, it was to a new level. So I took Tanya Jordan's econ class, and if anybody has had her, she's really, really difficult, but I had a lot of fun in her class, and she hands back her test one-on-one. So you stand up and you get your test, and I would sit back down with my test and be like, 94 or whatever. And then I'd look over and be like, oh, they got an 85, I'm better than them. Or oh, this person got a 72. And you're just constantly in comparison, whether you want to be or not. Or for me, I'm in PRW2 this semester, and we do our testing. So I look over and I say, Justin, who's one of my best friends, I was like, hey, you want to be my partner? Didn't really think anything of it. They hand me the measuring tape and they say, okay, put it around the widest part of your hips. I was like, okay. And they say, okay, now spin around. All right, great. And they say, now have your partner read the number. And I was like, no, Justin's not going to read how wide my hips are. Justin's not going to know my body fat percentage. So I suck it in really thin, trying to make my number as small as possible. Constantly in comparison with everybody else because I want to be whatever model, I want to look this way, I want to be this way. And that's not how people are. So, but the comparison of where you get the same stuff from is how can you compare somebody's GPA? It's easy, 3.5, 3.6. It's easy to tell whose is better. How can you say that skydiving is better than scuba diving? Can you? Not really. The best way to compare people factually is the stuff that's easy to compare. Apples and oranges, can't really compare them. We learned in math. As a math major, I have to bring up math, sorry y'all. But we always learned about like terms. You can't add x's and y's. You can add x's together, you can add y's together, but you can't combine the two. So how can you combine somebody's experience in this area versus somebody's experience in this area and say that they're on the same value? You can't. So yeah, you can compare all the stuff that you see on paper. You can say, oh, I'm the better person on paper, but the person that makes you you isn't the person that you are on paper. And I think that's the whole point of my talk, is that I've always tried to be that person that looks the best on paper. I've wanted to be the best, I want to have the best opportunities for myself, and what I've often caught myself doing is forgetting to enjoy the experiences that life was presenting me because I was too busy and too concerned with what I would look like on paper as a result of that. So, for example, last weekend I had the opportunity to go to the Final Four basketball games. And I am a huge sports fanatic, always have been, and I had 3 of my 4 Final Four teams from my bracket in the tournament, which is kind of a big deal, not gonna lie. So I was really excited to go, but I also had a huge chemistry test, and I chose not to go to the games because I didn't want to sacrifice my grade on the test. Well, it turns out I sacrificed my grade on the test anyways because I spent all night watching the games, but that's besides the point. So my entire argument is that when life gives you the opportunity to make memories, to make a difference, and to make friends, choose those. Choose those experiences that are going to make you unique, because those are the ones that, in any situation where you're being compared to anyone else, those are the ones that truly make a difference. So yeah, they're not saying when life says be different, be unique. They don't mean flunk all your grades, do terrible, have a terrible GPA so that you stand out on paper, because that wouldn't really work so well. They're saying that everybody that is applying for a job, that's applying for school, that's applying for anything, you're all going to have good grades. You're all going to be involved in many different clubs. Y'all are all going to be leaders, performances. How can they judge if you're better than somebody else if they have nothing, if they have no substance? So that's part of the reason that I think most applications have an interview process or they have a writing process, is for you to kind of show them the experiences that you had and the skills that you have that you can't necessarily portray on paper. And so I just want to say that for all of you, whatever opportunity that you have, just think both about the paper side of you, but also the non-paper side of you, and make the best of every opportunity that you get, because there aren't many experiences that you get to have. You can take as many classes as you want, but you don't get to go out on a Friday night with your best friends who may or may not be going to Scotland next semester. You don't get to go to a basketball game in Houston whenever you want. So just take those opportunities as they present themselves, make the difference, be unique,